Hey, 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 everyone. It is Let Me See Your Transcript. Your very favorite history teacher. How are y'all doing tonight? How's everybody doing? Thank you for joining me here a little bit earlier than usual. I appreciate that. And today I actually had to look at the calendar. Um, it happens to be a Tuesday, February, second month of the year, the 22nd day in the 22nd year. I'm just like, is this so lucky? When has this happened before? I guess 11111. So, but I was just like, okay, this really is a Tuesday. How are y'all doing today? I just thought that was very interesting. But I was also looking at the calendar because I was trying to figure out. I actually thought Mardi Gras was today. It's not today, it's March the 1st. So I'll have another live on that day that deals with the history of Mardi Gras. Like, why are we even celebrating Mardi Gras? A lot of people who are not even Catholic or Episcopal or part of, Protestant religions that celebrate, either the Lenten season, because actually Mardi Gras is kind of like the last hurrah before the Lenten season, which we're using to get ready for Easter. So I'm going to go over the history of celebrating Mardi Gras. So I'll do that next Tuesday, not today. But today I was also looking at the news this morning, and then looking at the news uh, tonight, this afternoon, looking at it in the afternoon, actually, after my classes, because President Biden recently came on and did sanctions against Russia for what they are doing in Ukraine right now. And I thought, like, hey, I'm the history teacher. This will probably be a perfect opportunity for me to actually do a history live on the U.S. Ukraine Russia crisis, because I think some people uh, are probably like, okay, what's going on? Why? Why? Some people are saying, oh, it's gonna about to be World War III, and other people are like, oh, it's not that serious. Why are we sending troops over there? Why can't we stay out of people's business? Um, and it's a lot of things that are um going on. Even though it's another part of the world, we still definitely need to know about it. Okay. We still need to be concerned about what's going on, because what goes on in foreign policy does help affect us, those of us who are over here in the United States, when it comes to other laws, domestic policy and laws that do affect us. Okay. So I wanted to go over that tonight. So grab your favorite drink, your favorite snack, maybe some pen and paper. I don't know. If you want to take notes, that's up to you. And I'm going to go over like a little bit of the history, as much as I can, about where is the foundation of all of this crisis, because it really is a crisis that is happening. And so I see a couple people have come on in the room. Hey, hey, hey. I'm trying to also send this out to people. Come on, come on, come on. All right. Please hit the like button. Hey, Speaking True, Roxanne. Hey, Tripsy's Treehouse. Hey, Cece. Hey, Bookabook. Hey, Zeb Unconjo. Hey, 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 please like this live. Please share it to either if you have your own channel, to your community wall or to Facebook or to Instagram or any other, hey, LL, or any other website. Or, email it to go grab a friend, bring them on over here. Okay. All right. So, as you can see, these are the two men who are kind of like they are not only they are the heads of their government and they are the heads of state of their countries. So on the left hand side we have President Joseph Biden, who is the 46th president of the United States, and then on the right is President Vladimir Putin. I think I'm saying it right. Hey, Hood Therapy. It was the president of the Russian Federation. Their official title, we call them Russia, but their official title is the Russian Federation. The Russian Federation at one time used to be called the Soviet Union. So even though normally when talking about the Ukraine Russia crisis, or something, I refer to it as the US Ukraine Russia crisis. You can Some people may want to start in 2003 or 2004 when the first kind of like crisis happened with them, but we got to actually go a little bit farther back. Actually, probably a lot farther back. Okay, so I'm going to put up here. If there's anyone that I did not say hello to, please forgive me. Blame it on my head, not my heart. Okay. Also, the things that I say, also the audio that I will let you hear are protected by Section 107 of the U.S. Copyright Act of 1976, which allows fair use for purposes such as criticism, commentary, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Okay. Okay. So let's go back. Actually, we need to go back. I don't know. Some of you remember this from high school. Okay. Or even world history class. And you talked about the fact that at the end of World War II, the Soviet Union and the United States were in this kind of like unofficial war called the Cold War. Wars are hot, bloody, they're usually declared, but even though we were allies during World War II, and we actually helped to liberate Europe from the Nazis and from Italy, and also to liberate Asian countries such as China and the Philippines from Japan, at the end of World War II, the United States and the Soviet Union, even though we were allies, were actually ideologically opposite of each other. The Soviet Union was a communist country politically and economically. The United States was a representative democracy, and we practiced what was called capitalism or market economy. Okay, in a communist country, the state government or the state party decides what gets produced. Even though, let's say, for example, they do make sure that all the citizens have a job, a place to stay, healthcare, and the same education, there's really they also decide on what gets produced. They decide on what is the minimum wage. They decide on like everyone gets the same thing. However, economically, in the long run, those countries do not do well. Okay. Market economies, we do have some regulation by the US government, but a lot of times it's for to make sure things are safe or fair. It's mostly supply and demand by individuals and entrepreneurs determines what gets produced. Okay. So you have these two polarizing countries at the end of World War II, and the United States is concerned that, hey, the Soviet Union liberated Eastern Europe from the Nazis, but they didn't leave. Okay. And they start to spread their influence to countries like Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, okay, Turkey, and Greece. And so Truman, who took over for Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who died, Truman is very suspicious of Stalin. He actually doesn't him and Stalin do not get along at all. Um, Stalin is very also suspicious of the United States, especially when the United States starts initiating its Truman Doctrine and Marshall Plan, where they're going to give money to countries um, to help them get on their feet after World War II. So France gets it, Great Britain gets it, and then these smaller countries, which are very close to the Soviet Union, they start to get it, especially Greece, who's going through a civil war. Then you have Turkey, which is very close to Syria, which is the pathway to getting oil from the Middle East. So the United States and the Western countries really don't want those countries in the Mediterranean to fall under the sphere or the influence of the Soviet Union, because they already see what the Soviet Union is doing in Yugoslavia and Czechoslovakia. Those countries are becoming communist. They are not having things like freedom of speech, freedom of religion. They're not allowing for people to disagree with the government. People are going missing. Elections are being rigged. Okay. And so as a result, the United States also forms NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, that basically says, hey, all these countries who are part of this organization, we're going to come to each other's defense in case the Soviets or some communist country pops off. But the Soviet Union responds and creates their own organization called the Warsaw Pact of all the countries that, it is under its sphere of influence, which also will include eventually Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, also the Asian countries that actually fall to communism first, China, North Korea, North Vietnam, and also Cuba. Those are under its influence. So basically from end of 1945 to about 1991, the United States and the Soviet Union are basically building up stockpiles of weapons just in case the other one attacks. And they have indirectly also contributed to the like I say, wars or conflicts in Korea, and also Vietnam. So you have the Vietnam War. Well, first the Korean War, the Vietnam War. Also, you have in a movie called Charlie Wilson's War, the Afghan War. Okay, we're also affecting the Iran Revolution. The United States is also supposedly trying to fight communism, trying to permit a domino effect. They are interfering in countries in Latin America, in Africa, in the Middle East. Okay. And then the Soviet Union is also doing things, like I said, within its own countries, like it's financing rebels in Afghanistan. It is also giving money and arms to China, and then North Korea, and then North Vietnam. And then on top of that, they put missiles in Cuba, which is 90 miles from the United States, in 1962. And that creates the Cuban Missile Crisis. So at the time, President JFK, and then at the time, Premier Khrushchev decide, okay, Premier Khrushchev is going to remove the missiles from Cuba, and then the United States is going to remove the missiles from Greece and Turkey. That's also looking at the United States. So they do this, especially part in the 60s and 70s, they do this thing called détente. Pause. They're going to stop building up weapons because it's also expensive. It also makes their budgets bigger. Okay. And it seems to work until Reagan gets into office, and he kind of like reinvigorates the Cold War, and he actually is doing testing. And one of the tests they did, just in case they get attacked by the United States, the test kind of like war game goes off. But guess what? They didn't tell the Soviet Union like, hey, we're just testing a war game. And so the Soviet Union is like ready to send something at us in 1983. So we actually almost went to war again. I remember growing up in elementary and middle school, well, especially elementary school, we would have to do drills in case of a Soviet attack. We would have to like get underneath the desk, backs against the wall, and be quiet. I had a teacher, she said the same thing happened to her when she was growing up in the 60s. There was always this threat like, oh, the Soviet Union is going to attack us and what is going to happen. Okay. So you're probably telling me like, history teacher, why are you giving me all this background story? Because it's going to make so much more sense when I talk to you about what happens with the Ukraine. Okay. Because you're not, like I said, one of the things Reagan does, he makes this really big, impactful speech. Gorbachev, tear down the wall. There's a wall that separates the East from the West in Germany. On the east side is controlled by the Soviet Union. Since the end, I want to say about 1948. The other side is controlled by Great Britain, France, and the United States. Okay, Truman at one point had to airlift supplies and food to the other side of the wall because Stalin refused to allow the other former allies to come over and to help. Okay, and so for the most part, up until about, I want to say 1985, when Gorbachev gets into power, the Soviet Union, for the most part, has a strong hand on the different provinces in the Soviet Union and those countries that are under its sphere of influence. Okay? Now, one interesting thing, one of the men that came before, hey, Miss Furlow Speak, one of the men that came before Gorbachev, his name is Khrushchev. And he did something very interesting in I believe it's 1961 and 62, when he was the premier. Premier is like prime minister or president. He basically made Ukraine kind of like the seat of the Soviet Union government. And this was very interesting because, one, the Ukraine is next to the Black Sea, which goes into the Mediterranean. It has a port that connects it to the other surrounding Asian countries, also the Middle East. And so having a port there is very, very good for trade. The reason why Khrushchev did that is because he was born in the Ukraine. Even though the Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union, he made Kiev, which is in the Ukraine, kind of like the seat of the communist government. Okay. And so the Ukraine and the other countries nearby have always kind of like been like the border of the Soviet Union, and also its connection with the other Eastern European countries that are under the influence of the Soviet Union. And so it stays that way. It becomes very important to the Soviet Union. A lot of people who have lived there, the official language even though they were speaking Ukrainian, the main language was Russian. Okay. So in 1991, what ends up happening, partially because Gorbachev is looking at the economy, it's not doing well under this communist political and economic system. It's hard under the economic system to take care of this growing country, these other countries in the Warsaw Pact, do trade, build up weapons, and is really beginning to be a drain on the economy. So Gorbachev, who's the president at the time, premier, he decides, okay, I'm going to do some changes. But what ends up happening is the changes that he makes, because what he was trying to do was what was happening in China. China, for the most part, was a communist country politically, but they started to allow some private development, some elements of capitalism into their country to actually help their economy economically. And so that's what Gorbachev wanted to do. Hey, Miss T-Pre, that's what Gorbachev wanted to do for the Soviet Union. However, his ideals were good, but they were also his ideas led to the Soviet Union falling in 1991. Okay, so one of the things he put in is glasnost, perestroika, and something called democ democ democratia, something like that. And so basically it means, I think it's one said it was a perestroika was openness, and then democratia was democratization, and I'm sorry, what glasnost meant. Let me look that up. Just I don't want to tell you wrong. Okay. Okay. Ooh. Okay, glasnost was openness. Okay, so that means the government is going to be more open. They're going to talk to you, just not like, make people disappear. And perestroika was basically the restructuring of their economic system. So basically, with the openness, it was like, oh, we're going to allow free flow of information. So think about the United States. We have freedom of the press here. Under communism, they were not having freedom of the press. When Chernobyl had their explosion, people in the Soviet Union didn't know till 2 weeks later because the government had it on the hush hush. That couldn't happen here in the United States. Okay? Somebody gonna know about this explosion. It's gonna get out. Hey, living life to the fullest. So please hit the like button. So Gorbachev institutes glasnost, openness, institutes perestroika to restructure the economy, and he also institutes democratica and to make the country more democratic. However, remember, those policies are totally opposite of what the Soviet Union has been doing for like 50 years. So now what has happened is those countries and those provinces that are on the outer skirts of the Soviet Union, they start getting more information from the West. Okay, they start realizing like, hey, our country economically is poorer than the West. Okay, all right, and they like the idea of, hey, speaking out against their government and not thinking that they're going to die or go to jail. And so they start testing the waters, and what ends up happening is, beginning in 1991, you have the places like Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, okay? They start to leave, get their independence from the Soviet Union. So look at this map right here. Okay? So 11, that is after 1991, that is the 11 is was now Russia. Okay? And number 14, you might see in light blue, that is the Ukraine. But also you see all these other little countries over here to the south of Russia and to the east of Russia. Like I said, they're on the outskirts. They're close to the west. They're close to Greece. They're close to Turkey. Okay? They're getting the information about what is going on in the west. Ukraine actually was one of the last to actually leave the Soviet Union. Okay, all these countries then had their own elections, elected their own government, and they began to have relationships with the West. Some, like the Ukraine, became a part of the European Union. Some became a part of NATO. Okay, others began to have a relationship with Russia, the former Soviet Union. Russia started calling itself the Russian Federation. Think about the United States. We are the United States of America, but we are actually a federal republic or a federation. There is sharing of power between the federal government and the individual states. Okay. So now, under Boris Nelson, who is the new president under the Russian Federation, that is what Russia is becoming. However, you have to remember, they have been under a communist system for like 50 years. Do you think that that is going to go away overnight? No, it is not going to go away overnight. Okay? So, what ends up happening after all these, other countries, like you have Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Estonia, Georgia. By the way, Czechoslovakia, there's no more Czechoslovakia. It is called, they split into two countries and became Slovakia and then the Czech Republic. Okay? There are new countries, like I said, getting formed. They used to be part of the Soviet Union. Okay? Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, okay, Uzbekistan, Moldova, Lithuania, Kyrgyzstan. Okay? There's a Republic of Georgia. Okay? I actually met a lady when I was at Teachers College in New York, and the secretary, I believe she was from the Republic of Georgia. Okay? So, um, yeah, that they're not, yeah, shouldn't be play with, exactly. So what ends up happening with Ukraine specifically, they're the last, I guess you could say, the loyal, Russian uh former, province to leave. They do leave. They formed their new government, I believe, somewhere around, I think they're called they say each of the countries that you see with the different colors on the map, they did what was called separation papers, which was really weird, where they basically like formally separated from the Soviet Union or the Russian Federation and became their own countries. Okay. So after this, like I said, they have elections. They have their own country. There are some in the government, in the Ukrainian government, that want to have a relationship with Russia. However, guess what happens? Majority rules. The new government wants to have a relationship with the West. So, like I said, Ukraine becomes a part of NATO, becomes a part of the European Union. Okay. However, the Ukrainian government does have some corruption. And so those who are pro-Russia, they start to kind of like assert their voices, and a movement begins in the eastern part of Ukraine. These were people who really want to be a part of Russia. They're not happy with the way the government is going. There's corruption. The younger people are, like I said, it's all about the economy. And what ends up happening, I want to say around 2004, I believe. I'm sorry, I'm getting my dates mixed up. Around 2013. Okay, they do go from about 1996 to 2004. They go through, like I said, some rough patches because they're a new country. Okay, they get some movement, they get some protests. They have, different. I think they had like the conservative group there. They get into power. Hey Tristan, so glad you can make it. Hey, living life to the fullest. Hey, Miss T Pre. Hey, Miss Furlow speaks. So you have like, these different groups in the Ukraine, kind of like growing pains of a new country. Okay. And so there are people who are protesting, there are movements starting, there are political parties, there are people coming to power. Unfortunately, what happens, however, is that the first few years, what's called the oligarchs are still running the Ukraine. And I tell my students this: an oligarchy is when you have a few groups who exercise power. A lot of times either organizations or it could be families. And so finally, it's around, I would say, 2008 to 2013. You have these a new president in Ukraine. You have new groups who have been protesting and against these, oligarchs, and they are in power now. Now, what has happened is, at the same time that this is happening, there are still pro Russia people who are like, hey, I still want us to be pro Russia and not for us to be pro European Union or pro NATO. Okay? So, this is what happens about 2013. I'm going to put this map up. So 2013, and I don't know if you guys remember, around 2013, those in power, okay, this is a current map as of today, okay, but I want to show something. It's also reflective of what happened in 2013, because like what has been going on the last month didn't happen overnight. Okay, it started, I guess say the second or third part of this story that is involving Ukraine started in 2013. So just giving them a review. Okay. This is me, the teacher, checking for understanding. This is the Ukraine. It's a part of the Soviet Union up until 1991. Then in 1991, it's its own country. It's nearby the Russian Federation. Its government has decided to become part of the European Union and NATO. There are some growing pains, right? However, there are people in the eastern part of Ukraine who are like, hey, I don't like the way the rest of the Ukraine is being pro-West, pro-European Union, and pro-NATO. We're Russian first. And so this is what happens in 2013. There is an election, or I guess you say a vote, in the Ukrainian government, and they have decided to leave the European Union. Now, let me explain what the European Union is about. The European Union is basically states, countries that are in the European Union, where basically there is a currency that people can use in all of these countries who are part of the European Union to buy goods and services. Also, there's free flow of travel. Okay? In these countries in the European Union. Think of it similarly as to like something like NAFTA. We can have trade between Mexico, Canada, and the United States. We're not relaxed on, let's say, the import taxes. We're giving each other like a free flow of goods between the three of us. Okay? So this is what's happening in the European Union. However, Ukraine decides, because of its economy, all right, that it doesn't want to be a part of the European Union in 2013. However, there are people who are upset that the government has voted to leave the European Union, and so they start to protest about it. But guess what happens? The people who are in the East, who really want to be part of Russia, they take advantage of the situation. And guess what? Somebody else takes advantage of the situation. This man on the right, okay, President Vladimir Putin, he decides, hey, there's these people over here on the left, on the right, near us, that don't want to be a part of the European Union. They don't like what's going on in the government. So Putin, as part of the president of Russia, sends support and troops to the areas on the map that are in pink. So what actually he's doing is is what actually the UN tries to stop, and what other countries that are democratic countries are not supposed to do. Unfortunately, Russia and the United States both have had history doing this. He is undermining what's called popular sovereignty of the Ukraine by giving support to people who are rebelling against the country. Now, if we were in the age of revolution, we might say, hey, didn't France help us against Great Britain? Wasn't they undermining the popular sovereignty of England? Yes, they were. Did they come to the American colonists' aid? Yes, they did. Okay. So in that situation, we're like, hey, those are our allies. Okay. The separatists, for all we know, might think of themselves as revolutionaries. They might see themselves as getting assistance. Okay. And so, but nonetheless, Russia, who is on the Security Council with the United States, Great Britain, France, and China, okay, this is not something that someone on the Security Council who's a founding member of the UN should be doing. Undermining a democratically country by supporting their rebels, sending them troops, and sending them weapons, especially in the 21st century. And as you can see, the Cold War is supposed to be over, right? That's right. That was the whole part about their economy. Like I said, the oligarchs was in charge. They're not living. They're not. The economy is bad. So, are they? Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, but you know what? A lot of countries do the same thing. I mean, the United States does the same thing. We did the same thing in the Spanish American War. Cuba, Puerto Rico, and the Philippines wanted to no longer be a part of Spain. We helped them for several reasons because we wanted to be their new trading partner. Okay. Plus, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So, think about it like that. So, what the Ukraine does, like I said, it sends its troops, okay, to the area kind of like to put down this like rebellion, right? But the area becomes almost like a war zone immediately. Okay, remember, Ukraine is a new country, it's a new military. Okay, Russia been around for years, decades. Okay, they still got an economy to fund this. They see an opportunity to get Ukraine back. What Putin says to everyone else, like, hey, the government is unstable. I'm coming over here to help put the stability back. And for a minute there, it was like he was actually doing it because guess what happened? Not only because they were upset about the government leaving the European Union, they had an election. And guess what happened? The government that was in power didn't like the results or said something was wrong with the results. And the people over there in the pink were like going to the streets, they were willing to fight. So they really did have a just reason for rebelling against the government. Like, hey, we had a democratically election and you don't want to have a change in government because you don't like the results. Okay. And then Ukraine is sending troops to that area to put down a group of people who are questioning them. So it's like, okay, Ukraine, are you acting like the former Soviet Union? Or is Russia acting like the former Soviet Union? Like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And so for the most part, I don't know if you see this dark brown area. That dark brown area kind of becomes like a neutral zone between Ukraine and these other three parts, the pink part that is backed by Russia. Okay, so what ends up happening because of the situation, those that are in the West, okay, all right, they start to support they start to support Ukraine. Okay, they help them update their military training. They help them increase their numbers in the military. They help them get weapons in case it does go to a war. Okay. They're also encouraging them to have elections again to pick a new leader. You know, and so, however, Russia is over here like, okay, well, we're just gonna stay here until, you know, just in case. All right. So like basically, um, since 2013, then everything popping off in 2014, and here we are in 2022, and you have Putin now sending more troops to this area. And I believe he gave a speech the day before yesterday saying like the Ukraine is a part of Russia. Well, which part is he talking about? The pink part? Are you talking about the part that also includes that dark brown part? Or are you talking about all of it? Okay. And so right now, the United States and Great Britain, France is kind of like sitting on their hands, like, okay, we're not going to get involved in this for now. You know, they're always looking, but they gonna think about it. Yeah, Tristan, there is, and I mentioned it before. Ukraine is on the Black Sea. It is a middle point on the Mediterranean. From there, they have access to Middle Eastern countries for oil, to access to trade with Africa, and also access to trade with Europe. So geographically, economically, Ukraine is very important. And remember, one of the former Soviet Union premiers, he made Ukraine, he made Kiev. He was from the Ukraine. He made it the seat of he had made it the seat of the Communist Party government for a while. So yeah. Yeah, basically other than for resources. Yeah. So, and I think what has happened with uh Putin, he remember, he's, because of the age he is, he was there under the former Soviet Union. Okay. Um hey Muslim, you say there's something in that's not true. There's nothing in there. Well, that's what you call think about imperialism though. You want other countries access to their raw materials, then you can then manufacture and then sell it back to them as a manufactured good. Yeah, they are cousins, but there are people in the Ukraine who feel like, I am not Ukrainian, I'm Russian. So that's why there's a whole pink territory that is like, okay, welcome, come on in, Russia. Yeah. And then I met another lady at Teachers College. She's from the Ukraine, and she don't have nothing nice to say about Russia at all. She gets very angry and very upset. No. I'm sorry. That wasn't the person at Teachers College. That was a fellow teacher. She was from the Ukraine. Born and raised there. Family's from there. Has no nice things to say about Russia. So yeah. So basically, Right now, because one, since 2014, the Ukrainian government kind of have gotten its act together economically and politically, but with the exception of this part over here on the east side of the Ukraine. And right now, before they kind of like allowed Russia to just be there, putting troops there. Even though there's like literally daily wars in the neutral zone. I was reading one account. It said, watching one account, it said it was 10,000 people have died in the neutral zone. Another said 13,000 people have died in the neutral zone. So, right now, the Ukraine, and also you have to look at the fact that who's president now. It's no longer Trump. It is now Biden. Ukraine feels like, hey, I got the support, I got the capability to answer Russia if they keep pushing on into our territory. Okay. But Putin has, for the most part, been buddies with Trump for 4 years. So he's feel like, oh, there's this old man in the office over there. So what is he going to do? Well, he did some stuff today. Well, actually, the past couple of weeks, it showed him like, dude, you don't really want me to jump up over there. Okay. And also, if you look at what Biden is doing, he really is doing what Truman did at the end of World War II. He's applying Truman Doctrine. He's applying Marshall Plan. Okay. When he is helping Ukraine get weapons and train their army and give them money to get their country together. So guess what? They don't fall under the whole spear of Russia. Okay. That's what they're doing. When he basically today issued sanctions against Russia, because what he's actually doing right now is actually a warning. He sent troops to the area weeks ago. Because actually, Russia was sending troops first. We sent troops in response. And then Putin yesterday said, oh, Ukraine always belongs to us. And then today, our president said, oh, you say it always belongs to you? Okay, this is my response. I'm gonna let you listen to his response, because right now he really is trying to prevent another war or a battle or, like you said, a conflict from happening, because like I said, he's doing what Truman Doctrine says. We're going to come to the assistance of a NATO partner who is being attacked. That's basically what he's doing. Yeah, but World War One turned out because of uneasy alliances. Everybody had separate alliances with other countries that basically said, hey, if I okay. Muslim, that's interesting. Muslim, what is your source? I don't doubt that the CIA didn't go over there and give them money, but that's a Truman Doctrine move, is to give them money. I would think they would have gave them the money as a result of the revolution, because they didn't want the rest of them to fall to Russia. I'm not a citizen of that country, so I don't want to say that their revolution was fake, because some people want to say the Arab Spring was fake, and I don't like that either. I'm like, I wasn't a part of it. I'm seeing what I see on TV, and I don't want to take away someone's agency to fight for their own rights. You know what I'm saying? I guess that was still under Obama. So yeah, he was doing a Truman move too. a lot of this is still reminiscent of Cold War. Even though the Cold War technically is over, it's still being implemented. Because Russia is still acting like it's really doing like some neo Soviet Union moves. And the United States is doing like the old school Truman Doctrine, Cold War moves too. Yeah. So I wanted to let y'all hear President Biden went live to today. And hold on, I saved it in my little I save videos and stuff. Let me I wouldn't say that the CIA is a civilian organization. Now, what I can say about the CIA was actually created as a result of the Cold War. According to the National Security Agency, NSC paper 68, it said that the United States should increase its military. Okay. That it should also increase the budget. It should give money to countries to stop them from falling for communism, and that it needed to create an organization that dealt with law enforcement and foreign policy, basically spying, and that's how the CIA got formed. And by the way, the CIA has actually toppled a lot of governments in the vein of, we were stopping communism. Yeah. We removed Mohammed Mossadegh in 1953 at the Iran democratic election from government. We did the same thing in 1962 with Jacobo Arbenz in Guatemala when he wanted to basically give poor people land. What else? I've heard Patrice Lumumba died accidentally when he was fighting for independence of his country. Yes, it was formerly known as the OSS. The Great Britain's equivalent agency is MI6. Russia, the Soviet Union's agency was KGB. I don't know what they call their agency now. So, yeah, Office of Strategic Services. Okay. Okay. I want to get to the part. Okay. So, I want to get to the part. Go back here. Please hit the like button. Like, share, subscribe. Okay. This next audio I'm going to let you listen to. This is President Biden giving an update on the Ukrainian crisis, the Ukraine crisis, earlier today, talking about the sanctions that they're going to give to Russia for basically sending more troops to the eastern part and actually funding those separatists over there. So, wanted to, fair use. All right. Okay, let me put this back up. All right, so. Oh, sorry. Y'all can't hear that, can you?
As independent states. And he bizarrely asserted that.
Hold on. Okay, can y'all hear it? Put a 1 in the chat.
Well, good afternoon. Yesterday, Vladimir Putin recognized 2 regions of Ukraine as independent states. And he bizarrely asserted that these regions are no longer part of Ukraine and they're sovereign territory. To put it simply, Russia just announced that it is carving out a big chunk of Ukraine. Last night, Putin authorized Russian forces to deploy into these regions. Today, he asserted that these regions are actually extend deeper than the two areas he recognized, claiming large areas currently under the jurisdiction of the Ukrainian government. He's setting up a rationale to take more territory by force, in my view. And if we listened to his speech last night, and many of you did, I know, he's setting up a rationale to go much further. Mm-hmm. This is the beginning of a Russian invasion of Ukraine, as he indicated and asked permission to be able to do from his Duma. So let's begin to. I'm going to begin to impose sanctions in response, far beyond the steps we and our allies and partners implemented in 2014. And if Russia goes further with this invasion, we stand prepared to go further as with sanctions.
Okay, so remember what he said. Yeah, he does really look like he does. Hey, Muslim, is that on YouTube? Can I find it on YouTube? Yeah, and so like what President Biden just said right now, he said the U.S. imposed sanctions against Russia in 2014 when they sent troops to that same area after the election and after the Ukraine is talking about we're gonna leave the EU. So he's taking Putin is actually taking advantage of the problems that Ukraine is having to go to their area to take over, I think. All right. Muslim, I like hearing what you're saying. I just need some sources. I'm a history teacher. I just need to know what the source is, reliable. Tell me a channel or something to watch or a book to read or article to read. Yes, Google or YouTube Victoria's phone call. What's her name? Victoria Newland. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So,
who in the Lord's name does Putin think gives him the right to declare new so-called countries on territory that belong to his neighbors? This is a flagrant violation of international law and demands a firm response from the international community.
Okay, remember what he said. This is violation of international law. Part of international law and also governed by the United Nations is countries have what's called popular sovereignty. The people in those countries, they elect officials to run their country to make decisions for them. There are also, if you go back even further to like John Locke, the Declaration of Independence, those individuals have the right to overthrow their leaders. What that also means is that other countries are not supposed to be invading your country, starting shit, and say, oh, this belongs to us now. Yeah, that's the thing. He thinks he's weak, and it's like, dude, you need to stop. Because this is one thing about Biden. Yes, he's old, but he has capable people around him. His Secretary of Defense just retired from the military. Been in there, 30, 40 years. That man know what he's doing. He has capable people around him. And by the way, the former presidents do get security, clearance and stuff for that he does. So any of them, unfortunately, Trump is one of them, can call him up and say, hey, you know what? I think he might be calling them. They might be on a group chat somewhere. For all we know. I don't know if they're funding the conflict. I think it's where I feel like Russia is trying to see oh, this old man is in charge. I'm gonna do this and he's not gonna do anything, and I'm gonna be able to take the rest of the Ukraine. And I think from his standpoint, he's probably also talked with the other European powers over there, and they're like, "Hey, we want to do something about it, but we can't do this without you." It's like, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. This is very much Cold War, old school Cold War stuff right here. That's happening again in front of us. Like history repeats itself. But the thing is, are we gonna make the same mistakes as history, or are we gonna do the things that actually? It's so sad to see y'all falling for U.S. and Israeli propaganda. Oh Lord, Muslim, no, not tonight, not tonight, not tonight, please. Not tonight, please. Muslim, and I'm also seeing what you're putting in here, and it is making me think. Okay, and I got to do some more reading, some more research, but I'm also just like, I'm going just with why this conflict is happening. Yeah.
For the last few months, we've coordinated closely with our NATO allies and partners in Europe and around the world to prepare that response. We've said all along, and I've told Putin to his face more than a month ago, that we would act together. And the moment Russia moved against Ukraine, Russia has now undeniably moved against Ukraine by declaring these independent states. So today, I'm announcing the first tranche of sanctions to impose costs on Russia in response to their actions yesterday. These have been closely coordinated with our allies and partners, and will continue to escalate sanctions if Russia escalates. We're implementing full blocking sanctions on two large Russian financial institutions, VEB and their military bank. We're implementing comprehensive sanctions on Russian sovereign.
So they're hitting them in their pocketbook. If I hit sanctions on your bank, how you gonna pay for that military and them soldiers that you're sending over there? So I think he really is trying to I'm hoping he's doing this because he really doesn't want to go to war. And I really feel like I'm just concerned, especially during a pandemic, like how is this going to affect our economy over here as well as the global economy? Because the United States economy is part of the global economy. Also, I have students who I'm still in contact with. They're in the military. They're 21 years old, 20, 21, 22. I'm scared for them. I know they want to go to the military. They want to go to the Navy. They want to go to the Air Force. They want to go to the Army. But it's like, they might get caught up. They might got to go. You know what I'm saying? I had students from last year. They got caught up. They were in the National Guard. Got called into to go to Washington D.C. because they thought somebody was going to attack people at the inauguration. So I get scared about that.
Dead. That means we've cut off Russia's government from Western financing. It can no longer raise money from the West and cannot trade.
Because it's a form of imperialism. Yeah, Biden's reading from a script. All the presidents read from a script. Someone writes their speech. Look at the Spanish-American War. Look at a man by the name of, what is that man name is? He was a professor at the U.S. Naval Academy. His specialty was British military history. And he said that in order for the United States to be a great nation like England or like the UK, they needed to have military bases all across the country. That was easy for them to move militarily, but also for trade. That's why we invested in the and created the Panama Canal, get from one side of the Atlantic to the Pacific, and we were in control of it for 100 years. But is that for 1,000 bases, or is that for something else? Because actually, for the last 10 years, our economy actually has um, been increasing. That means every product you purchase will cost on an average of $6, $7. Okay. But you know that there are military officers, civilians who are actually employed by the U.S. government who are on those 1,000 bases in 100 countries. So how is their pocketbook and their microeconomy going to be affected if the United States decides to like close down those bases? I'm just saying.
Trade in its new debt on our markets or European markets either. Starting tomorrow and continuing in the days ahead, we'll also impose sanctions on Russia's elites and their family members. They share in the corrupt gains of the Kremlin policies and should share in the pain as well. Because of Russia's actions, we work with Germany to ensure Nord Stream 2 will not, as I promised, will not move forward. As Russia contemplates its next move, we have our next move prepared as well. Russia will pay an even steeper price if it continues its aggression, including additional sanctions. The United States will continue to provide defensive assistance to Ukraine in the meantime, and will continue to reinforce and reassure our NATO allies. Today, in response to Russians admit...
See what it says? We are going to assist the Ukraine and NATO allies. So I said, look, Cold War. That's why I was going over the Cold War earlier in this live. Because this is still, even though that was like almost 60 years ago, over 60 years ago, it's still affecting politics today.
That it will not withdraw its forces from Belarus. I have authorized additional movements of U.S. forces and equipment. Already,
Belarus is another country. I think it's on this map right here. Let me get it. It's on this map, I believe. Muslim, then what you want to do about it? Okay, so look at the map. Where number 3 is, the light green, the green that's next to 14, that's Belisarius. So our troops are right there, just in case I'm stopped by the paw. Muslim, have you looked at the federal budget? I do think the defense budget does need to be decreased, and Medicare and social services need to be increased. Okay, all right.
Station in Europe to strengthen our Baltic allies, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. Let me be clear. These are totally defensive moves on our...
Okay, so on this map, Estonia is number 4. Latvia is number 8. And Lithuania is number 9. So the light blue, 14, that's Ukraine, and the 4 countries next to it, that's where our troops are.
We have no intention of fighting Russia. We want to send an unmistakable message, though, that the United States, together with our allies, will defend every inch of NATO territory and abide by the commitments we made to NATO.
Remember what it said? We're there because of NATO. North Atlantic Treaty Organization was created in 1949. Okay? So it's making it very clear. It's kind of like what Theodore Roosevelt said. Speak softly, but carry a big stick. So those soldiers being over there, they're the big stick. It's the military.
I believe that Russia is poised to go much further in launching a massive military attack against Ukraine. Hope I'm wrong about that. Hope we're wrong about that. But Russia has only escalated its threat against the rest of Ukrainian territory, including major cities and including the capital city of Kyiv. There are still well over 150,000 Russian troops surrounding Ukraine. And as I said, Russian forces remain positioned in Belarus to attack Ukraine from the north, including warplanes and offensive missile systems. Russia has moved troops closer to Ukraine's border with Russia. Russia's naval vessels are maneuvering in the Black Sea to Ukraine's south, including amphibious assault ships, missile cruisers, and submarines. Russia's moved supplies of blood and medical equipment into position on their border. You don't need blood unless you plan on starting a war. Over the last few days, we've seen much of the playbook that Secretary Blinken laid out last week in the United Nations Security Council come to pass. A major increase in military provocations and false flag events along the line of contact in the Donbass. Dramatically staged, conveniently on-camera meeting of Putin's Security Council to grandstand for the Russian public. And now political provocation of recognizing sovereign Ukrainian territory as so-called independent republics in clear violation, again, of international law. President Putin has sought authorization from the Russian parliament to use military force outside of Russian territory. And this set the stage for further pretext of further provocations by Russia to try to justify further military action. None of us should be fooled. None of us will be fooled. There is no justification. Further Russian assault in Ukraine remains a severe threat in the days ahead. And if Russia proceeds, it is Russia and Russia alone that bears the responsibility. As we respond, my administration is using every tool at our disposal to protect American businesses and consumers from rising prices at the pump. As I said last week,
I hope so.
Spending freedom will have cost.
$40. Well, and now it's just 3/4 full.
Honest about that.
Tank was 3/4 full.
But as we do this, I'm going to take robust action to make sure the pain of our sanctions is targeted at the Russian economy, not ours. We're closely monitoring energy supplies for any disruption. We're executing a plan in coordination with major oil producing consumers and producers toward a collective investment to secure stability in global energy supplies. This will blunt gas prices. I want to limit the pain the American people are feeling at the gas pump. This is critical to me. In the last few days, I've been in constant contact with European leaders, including with Ukrainian President Zelensky. Vice President Harris met in person with the leaders in Germany over the weekend at the Munich conference, including President Zelensky. At every step, we've shown the United States and our allies and partners are working.
President Zelensky is the president of Ukraine.
In unison, which he hasn't been counting on, Mr. Putin. We're united in our support.
You call him Mr. Putin, not President
Putin? We are united in our opposition to Russian aggression. And we're united in our resolve to defend our nation.
Yeah, he said robust.
And we're united in our understanding of the urgency and seriousness of the threat Russia is making to global peace and stability. Yesterday, the world heard clearly the full extent of Vladimir Putin's twisted rewrite of history, going back more than a century.
I'm gonna have to go find that.
Noting that, well, I'm not going to go into it, but nothing in Putin's lengthy remarks indicate any interest in pursuing real dialogue on European security in the year 2022. He directly attacked Ukraine's right to exist. He indirectly threatened territory formerly held by Russia, including nations that today are thriving democracies and members of NATO. He explicitly threatened war unless his extreme demands were met. And there's no question that Russia is the aggressor. So we're clear-eyed about the challenges we're facing. Nonetheless, there is still time to avert the worst-case scenario that will bring untold suffering to millions of people if they move as suggested. The United States and our allies and partners remain open to diplomacy if it is serious. When all is said and done, we're going to judge Russia by its actions, not its words. And whatever Russia does next, we're ready to respond with unity, clarity, and conviction. We'll probably have more to say about this as it moves on. I'm hoping diplomacy is still available. Thank you all very much.
Okay, so when he said that, he left. Okay, I want to apologize. I need to make a correction. It looks like Ukraine is not a part of NATO. I knew they were part of the EU. Because I'm seeing something here. Because it says Putin says Ukraine joining NATO would make nuclear war more likely. He said that 11 days ago. Okay, I thought they were already, but I guess not. Yeah, the French President Macron, he wants a ceasefire in Ukraine. See, this is yesterday. Hold on. Let me this is Putin. Putin. I always want to say Putin, but his name is Putin. Putin. Okay. Okay. Again, disclaimer. Okay. All right. So this is Putin. He's probably also talking through a translator. He's talking about what he was going to do yesterday.
Russian President Vladimir Putin now saying he intends to recognize 2 Russian-controlled separatist regions in eastern Ukraine as independent. This move seen as an escalation in a potential Russian invasion of Ukraine, with NATO allies condemning the moves and the U.S. putting in place targeted sanctions. The White House saying it will announce additional measures. Today, the U.S. National Security Team meeting at the White House. Images showing General Mark Milley, Secretary of State Tony Blinken, and VP Kamala Harris all arriving for the high-level conversations.
We never give up hope on diplomacy until the missiles fly or the tanks roll.
U.S. officials telling ABC News they believe Russian tactical commanders have been told to be prepared for orders to invade. U.S.
Okay, so they were speaking through a I'm trying to find one where they give the whole thing he's gonna say. You know, he's speaking through a translator. Oh, he had a tense exchange, they said, with his chief spy. Oh, this is what he says. Okay. I'm trying to get where he said what Putin said yesterday. Okay.
Таким образом, согласился бы с предложением Николая Платоновича о том, что нашим, так сказать, западным партнерам можно дать последний шанс с тем, чтобы...
Okay, they're speaking in subtitles, so I'm going to have to read, y'all. Okay, so this is Putin speaking with, I guess, other members of his government. And so this guy is saying, I would like to agree with the suggestion of Nikolai Platonovich.
Николая Платоновича о том, что нашим, так сказать, западным...
But we can give our Western partners one last chance.
Последний шанс. С тем, чтобы...
Presenting them with the choice in the shortest time. To force Kiev to choose peace and implement the Minsk agreement. In the worst case, we have to make the decision we are discussing today. Okay, so Putin is interrupting, saying, what does that mean in the worst case? Okay. Are you giving us suggestions? And he says, you giving us suggestions, or do we recognize sovereignty? So it means what he basically did. Later on, he said we're going to recognize those 2 states. The other guy tongue-tied, speaks plainly, he tells him. He basically is like telling the man, speak plainly, what are you talking about? And so the guy is like, I will support the suggestion of recognition. I think the other guy is trying to be careful, but Putin wants him to say a certain thing, it looks like.
признание. Поддержу или поддерживаю? Говорите.
He said, am I supporting or I will support? He said, speak plainly, Sergey. Well, he called him by his first name.
Прямо, Сергей. Поддерживаю предложение. Так и скажите, да или...
He said, I'm supporting the proposal of recognition, but Putin wants him to say yes or no. Oh, damn, see?
Поддерживаю предложение о вхождении Донецкой и Луганской.
He said, I support the entry of Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republic into the Russian Federation. Oh, my goodness. Dang, he like strong-armed him. The man was trying to be careful. Hey, She Nurse TV. Hey, Stephanie Collins. The man was trying to be, Sergey was trying to be very careful with what he said. He was like, oh, we'll entertain, we'll suggest a proposal. And Putin is like, is it a yes or no? Speak plainly, Sergey. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm gonna put this in the chat. Y'all look at this. Y'all tell me what the man is saying. Y'all look at the body language. He said, what are you doing? What do you mean? I'm just like, you know, he sounds like, you ever like did a Easter speech, a Christmas speech? You ever did the Easter speech and you were getting it wrong and you started getting nervous, and then your parents were like, you better say it. You better say it. I'm gonna give you something to what, you know? It's like that. I feel like that man needed help. Yeah, he is. I think so. I think you're right. Yeah, because he like literally told this man, he was like, what you he's like, what you gonna speak plainly, Sergey? I'm sorry. He said, is it a yes or no? Hey, respected Anger Mobile. He said, speak plainly, Sergey. I'm sorry, just the way, I guess reading it and he's speaking in his language. And the man was really trying to be careful because he's because he knows what his words will mean to them. Him saying like, "Oh, we're gonna recognize another country." What do you mean, Sergey? I'm sorry. He said, "Oh." He said, "What do you mean, Sergey?" I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Am I the only one tickled by that? It's just me, huh? Is it just me just tickled by that? Oh Lord. Oh goodness. Exactly. Hey, respected lady. Exactly. So I'm just like, this man was like tripping over his word. This man was a grown man. His whole point is like, you're in the diplomacy department. You can't just say, oh, if the West does this, we're gonna do this. It's gonna be a war. So he's like, well, we're gonna entertain the idea. We're gonna entertain the suggestion of the proposal. And Putin is over there like, what do you mean? What do you mean, Sergey? Speak plain, Sergey. I'm sorry. It's the way he did it. It was like, did he just make this grown man fumble over his words? Like, that man looks scared. He probably think he gonna get killed. Oh Lord, I should pray. We need to pray for him. We need to pray for him. We need to pray for that man. He really do need some help. Y'all hold on a minute. Hmm. Okay, hold on, y'all. I'm just trying to. I want to share. I want y'all to see this man's body language, cause he looks scared, like someone's gonna hurt him. I'm trying to share the screen. I'm having a hard time, y'all. I can't let y'all see it. But yeah, I'm just like, that's what he meant. Sergey is scared. He basically told Sergey, like, look, Sergey, you need to tell them what I told you're supposed to say before we came up in here. Basically, that's what he said. Speak plainly, Sergey. He said we're gonna put them these two countries gonna make these two parts of Ukraine gonna become part of the Russian Federation. It's like, dude, yeah, Sergey, you scared of him. He might have been holding Sergey family hostage. Sergey had to come out there. Part of me wants to be like, Sergey, blink once. Yeah, two for no. Do you want to defect? We know this ain't the Cold War no more, but do you want to defect, Sergey? I'm sorry, I'm just being silly. But all right. Do y'all have any other questions about anything I said tonight? Uh, yeah, he sunned him like in front of everybody in a whole nother language. I'm just reading it. I'm just reading. Y'all look at the link in the chat and y'all go watch it and y'all look at that and be like, did he just? Yeah, yeah. He got Sergey on the fence. Sergey's looking at them. Man. He like stumbling over his words. Speak plainly, Sergey. He said, we'll entertain the idea. He said, is it a yes or no? He said yes or no. All we needed was him to say it with the chest. Say it with the chest, Sergey. He said, say it, speak plainly. Speak up, we can't hear you. My goodness, that poor man, he really was stumbling over his word. He looked really scared. He looked really scared. I was like, this man's scared. Oh my goodness. So, but yeah, that's the thing, that there are breakaway areas, but it's also the fact that Russia is knowingly exploiting by sending more troops to the breakaway areas. Then you're gonna say, oh, well, I'm gonna recognize these newly independent countries. Did they say they wanted to be independent? Or you just sent people over there so that they'll want to be independent? Like, come on, dude. Speak plenty, Sergey. I should do a skit with that. Say it with the chest. Sergey. Y'all gotta go watch that. Seriously. Oh, post Sergey. Y'all, we had to put Sergey on the prayer list. Because he not feeling good. He is not feeling good. I'm telling you. All right, y'all. I want to thank y'all so much for coming over here with me for the last hour and a half. Next week, Tuesday, I am doing the history of Mardi Gras. Okay. Right now, I'm going to go over to Nappy Yankee. and he's going to talk about Yvette Carnell and her comments and her critique of Umar Johnson. I saw KKC's yesterday. There's a breakaway in the Republic of Georgia called the Republic of Asgagasia that has a significant population of African descendants. Ooh, Stephanie, I did not know that. Now I'm going to look that up. Ooh. Yeah, right. She nurses TV. Say loud, Sergey. Say it with the chest. She basically told him to say it with the chest. Think up, I can't hear you. Poor Sergey. Y'all would pray for Sergey on the prayer list. Okay. Thank y'all so much for being here tonight. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, Muslim. I haven't seen you in a while. Tristan McGregor, always love you. Coming over. Stephanie Collins, She Nurse TV, The Respective Angle Show. LL, She Nurses TV. Miss Furlow Speaks. Thank you so much. Who else? Living Life to the Fullest, Miss T Pre, Trip C's Treehouse. Also check out Trip C's Treehouse. She has a really good Black History video on tonight. Hey, Speak Your True, Roxanne. Please check out my friend Speak Your True, Roxanne. Her last video. Check out Hey Zeb Unconjo. Hey Booka Book. Also, I was on Friday night, well actually it was Saturday night. Me and my friends did Hot Topics with the A team. So please go check that out. I'm gonna put that in the chat. Post Sergey. We did a Saturday Night Live. And also Wednesday, meet me in can't spell. Okay, Friday Night Live with my friends 18. There you go. Hey, Roxanne. What it will do, which you might have missed that part, She Nurses, is when he said, because we have to think about things like this. When we get engaged in these foreign wars, what sometimes countries will do, they may just like we're putting sanctions on Russia, right? Economically for being in this war. What other countries may do, they may increase the price of oil, which makes our gas prices go up. Okay. They may choose not to buy certain American products, or we might not be able to get some of the products we get from other countries because we're fighting in a war and we can't get the goods through. It's going to affect us if we have family members who are, or like for me, I have students who are in the military and they may have to go off. Those who are in the National Guard may have to go. Army, Navy may have to go. May get called up. In some cases, it could be proven beneficial. I know for in the Houston area, Halliburton was a really big contractor with the government during the Iraq War. And so a lot of people were getting jobs with Halliburton because they were producing things for the war. I had a neighbor during the 9/11 war on terror. She was actually a civilian worker They basically were packaging the food for the soldiers over there in the Middle East. That was her job. She was making good money too. Only thing is, you got to go through the background check. You got to get a physical and all that kind of stuff too. So that's what I'm saying. That's the different ways I know that they can affect. You know what I'm saying? It can affect us. Oh, no problem. Yeah, it does always come to money or the economy, because we need to understand that our U.S. economy is part of the global economy. So it could, like he said, like Biden said, he's going to try to make sure that it doesn't affect the price of gas at the pump, because right now it's high. Right. Exactly. Exactly. But do we really want Putin to do this though? This is just the thing. Yeah. Because he know what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. And if he was smart, he would have did this before Trump left office. But he probably thought Trump was gonna get reelected, and that didn't happen. And he probably wouldn't. If Trump was in office, would the United States be doing anything? They'd be like, "Look, we just gonna follow our friend over there." Okay, y'all. Thank y'all so much for being here. Check out my friends. Friday Night Live with the A Team. We had a good time. Okay, check it out. Okay, tomorrow night, Wednesday, is going to be uh yeah, but remember what happened with Obama's term? He was having to deal with the effect of the Great Recession of 2008 during an election year, and there was a whole full-fledged housing crisis. I definitely think that George W. Bush did that after 9/11. So I'm trying to figure out, why are we over there in Afghanistan if not Afghanistan, why are we over there in Iraq if Osama bin Laden is supposed to be somewhere in Afghanistan? And the man after you found him. Like, come on, seriously? Mm-hmm. Well, thank y'all so much for listening with me. If you haven't liked the like button, please hit it on the way out. Thank you so much for hanging out with me in the chat. Thanks for being such great chatters. Thanks for the discussion. Muslim, you got me thinking. I'm gonna be doing some more research, watching some more videos, reading some more articles. Y'all have a good night. Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. See you in another chat. Okay, Muslim. July 4th. What is agent outside regime? Okay, Muslim. Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz. Oh, I gotta look her up. Oh, thank you so much, Stephanie Collins. Oh, thank you so much. Muslim, but what about other countries' Independence Day? I'm not disagreeing with you though. The United States has done some very a lot of horrible things. But I can't think of no other country I want to go to. I gotta deal with our foreign policy. Oh my god. If we just talk about foreign policy in the United States, that's all. Oh, that's all the discussion. But there's still people who still want to come here nonetheless, knowing that something they know about the United States. Oh, thank you so much, She Nurses TV. Oh, thank you so much. She lives not far from her town. I lived as a child in Oklahoma. Okay, y'all got me got me a list of things I need to read. Dunbar Ortiz. And I gotta look up that Victoria Nullen person. Okay. Thank you, Stephanie Collins, for the super chat. And thank you, Chanel C, for the super sticker. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please like, share, subscribe. Please come again. Wednesday, Daryl Moore. Friday Night Live, I believe it's gonna be on his channel again. Saturday, I'm gonna have a ladies ask a ladies night with Miss T Pre. T Pre, please send me your the photo you want me to use on the thumbnail. Don't forget, please. Okay. So y'all have a very good night. Thank you all for being here. Bye-bye.